No Avi or Bryn.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Sharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, melech malachei amlachim kadosh baruch hu. Good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos to our CRC regulars. Good Shabbos to our lead STL students who just started today. Is that right? We love lead STL here. For those who don't know, lead STL is what is the new name for cultural leadership. Always an amazing group of young human beings. Glad to have you start your year with us. And a wedding couple. Zipporah and Emery, who will stand underneath the chuppah this Sunday. Your last Shabbos unmarried. And so we welcome everyone just as we welcome the angels of Shabbos. We ask for blessing. We ask for goodness. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Sharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem leshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turn back to page 3. The Ari, the great mystic of our people, from 500 years ago. A man who was a refugee, who was the grandchild of refugees, who were the grandchildren of refugees, who said we must begin our prayers always, wherever we find ourselves, we must begin our prayers with V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, reminding ourselves that we must love our neighbor as ourselves. If we are to start, first we have to value ourselves, learn to love ourselves, see the divine in ourselves so that we can see it in others. Invite folks to introduce themselves to those around you, particularly if you don't know them, but if you do know them, give them a good Shabbos too. Lead STL people, give each other your names one more time. Hareini mekabel alai et mitzvat abore v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha l'reacha kamocha hareini mekabel alai et mitzvat abore ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha l'reacha kamocha yum didiram yididay daday 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 yum didiram yididay daday 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 yididum yididay daday 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 yaday 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 yum dididay daday yaday yaday So Emery and Sipora, can we invite the two of you up to give you a little blessing before you get married, to have you light these Shabbos candles for us, to have you bring a little more light into this world. So I think we're all feeling this weekend that we need a little more light in this world, that we need a little more light. And so we start Shabbos with two candles. We start Shabbos with two candles that are separate from each other. And by the end of Shabbos, we bring them together in the candle of Havdalah, interwoven together, just as the two of you are weaving your lives together. The Baal Shem Tov taught that from every person, from every human soul, there is light that goes straight up into the heavens. But it is a light that is sometimes hard to see until we find that other piece of ourselves, until we can hold that light together. And that is when the light really begins to shine. And so let's wrap this tallis around you. Wrap it around you together, like these candles, which 25 hours from now will turn into one. As we close our eyes, as we take in the light that comes from these candles, as we take in the light that comes from the two of you. I would give you both a hug, but I don't want to get you sick before your wedding, so. Do you not just see the light coming off of these two? Aren't they the sweetest? So we welcome Shabbos like another wedding. We welcome Shabbos like another wedding, page 8. There's a mystic teaching. There's a mystic teaching that as we left the garden, as we left that mythic, perfect world and entered into the messiness of this one, and oh my God, sitting on the precipice of an inauguration, this world feels messy. That as we entered out of the garden into the world, that the Shekhinah, the mothering, loving aspect of the divine, couldn't bear to be without her children. And so she entered out into the world to be with us, to walk with us, to comfort us. And it's only on Shabbos, when we see this reunification, when the divine comes back together into one, when we come back together into one, when for just a moment, we let the world and our obligations to change it fade away. And just be present. And just take a breath. To let go of the schmutz and lead SDL people. If you don't know what schmutz is, I promise you know what schmutz is. It's what we all carry around. It's that homework assignment that you know is waiting for you right now. It's the relationship, the friendship that's more strained or more distant than we wish it was. It's the sickness and the pain and the worry. It's the fear that so many of us have of what is to come after Monday. But on Shabbos, we put that schmutz down. We know it will be waiting for us when Shabbos is over. But for 25 hours, we let the differences, we let the separations fade away as we enter into this cosmic wedding of Shabbat. Page 8. Ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likraskala, ya 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 ya, ya la pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Shamo v'zachor b'ribor echad. Hishmiyanu elam yuchad Adonai echad ushmo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litchila ya la 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 lecha dodi ya la 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 likraskala ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Top of page 9. Likras Shabbat lechu v'necha ki hi makor habrecha merosh mekedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshvat tchila ya la 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 lecha dodi ya la 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 likraskala ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri ki va'orech kumi uri shidaberi kevod Adonai laich nigla ya la 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 lecha dodi ya la 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 likraskala ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. We turn, we face towards the entrance. We imagine Shabbos coming in like a bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uv'tzola toch emuneh am segula boi chala ya ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likras kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat, neka habela, ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likras kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat, neka habela. We remain standing as we are able, as we turn to page 11. There is an irony that has always been at the core, at the root of Jerusalem. The word itself, Yerushalayim, means city of peace. For a place that has seen so much brokenness. And yet the end of this word, this city of peace, is this Hebrew dual form, a form that means two. Two Jerusalems, not one. Two worlds, not one. There's the world we live in, the world as it is. But if we look hard enough, we can see just over the horizon the world as it could be, the world as it should be. World waiting for us to pull it down. So we call each other to the holy work of prayer, the holy work of change, the holy work of taking that vision and turning it into reality. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Yedei, yedei, You may be seated as we turn to page 12 for our meditations. For these two ideas which can't sit together, which pull at each other. The first Mari of Aravim, which asks us to back away from our lives until we take a divine perspective, a cosmic perspective, until everything that we know, everyone we know, everyone that has ever been, is just a pale blue dot. We back away. We back away so that everything for a moment seems so small, so that it's easier to take that next breath, so it's easier to take that next step. Page 12 together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna mishanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, v'mishmerotehem berakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golei alor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzivaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid imloch, aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'amariv haravim. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv haravim. We don't stay at smallness. We don't stay at smallness. Instead, take a moment to channel the Hasids, to channel the mystics who believed in Jewish reincarnation, who believed that every soul, every one of us was created with a divine purpose, that there is some piece of brokenness in this world that we were made to fix, that our soul was made to repair. And if we live in a way where we don't get it through our thick skulls that it's not about us, then we get sent back again and again and again until we do that tikkun, until we do that repair that the world is waiting for us to do. So holding these two ideas, this smallness, this existential tininess, and the idea that the whole world needs us to bring repair, we close our eyes. We shut out the world for a moment. We let the differences fade away as we say the words of Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Page 16. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uksatam leot al yadecha v'hayu litotafot ben einecha uchtavtam al mizuzot beitecha uvisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. Turn to page 18. For our Mi Chamocha, for our liberation song. Over and over again, we sing this song of liberation. Over and over again, we return to Egypt. Over and over again, we see this cycle, degradation and liberation. Degradation, liberation, over and over it turns. The hope of Judaism, the hope of Torah, the hope of our people is that somehow we can take the lessons. We can take the lessons of the past. We can take the bad things that have happened to us and use them for empathy with those who are vulnerable today, with those who are suffering today. It is too easy to take our traumas and to pass them on. And so over and over again we are reminded, you shall not oppress, for you know what it was like to be the oppressed. Page 18. Yididum yidiyay-yo, yay-day-day-day-do. Yididum yidiyay-yo, yay-day-day-day-do. Yididum yidiyay-yo, yay-day-day-day-day-day-day. Yididay-day-do, yay-day-day-day-do. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh. Nora tehilot Osef Nora tehilot Osef yai-dai-dai-dai Yum tiddy-dai-dai-dai oh Yum tiddy-dai-dai-dai Yiddy-dum yiddy-ay-ay-yo Yay-dai-dai-dai-dai-do Yiddy-dum yiddy-ay-ay-yo Yay-dai-dai-dai-dai-do Malechutecha ra'u banecha Bokei yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Zeli anu ve'yamru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai Yum tiddy-dai-dai-dai oh 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 Yum tiddy-dai-dai-dai Yiddy-dum yiddy-ay-ay-yo Yay-dai-dai-dai-dai-do Yiddy-dum yiddy-ay-ay-yo Yay-dai-dai-dai-dai-do V'ne'ema kifada Adonai et Yaakov Uge'alo meyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael Ga'al Yisrael. I was putting my 11-year-old to bed last night. She was working hard to avoid bedtime. And then she said those magic words that she knew would mean she'd get 20 more minutes. She looked at me and she said, "Daddy, I'm scared about Monday." I said, "Me too, kid. Me too." There's a story in the Talmud about Rebbe Akiva, one of the great rabbis, perhaps the greatest of the rabbis. We're told another Rebbe, another great rabbi, was on a ship, and he looked out at sea and he saw Rabbi Akiva's ship hit a rock. He saw it sink, and he began to cry. Cried for his friend, cried for his generation, crying for the world that had lost Rebbe Akiva. So finally, when they arrived at shore, when he got to the market, he walked in and he found a very wet Rebbe Akiva sitting there, teaching Torah. He looked at his friend, he looked at the great rabbi, and he said, How did you make it?" And Rebbe Akiva looked back at him and he said, "A plank floated by, so I grabbed onto it. And then every wave that came, every wave, I met with a nod." We will be each other's planks. We will be each other's support. We will hold the vulnerable. We will hold those who are scared. And somehow we will nod at every wave, and we will find our way to shore. Page 20. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot Shlomecha. Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. And cover over us tonight with a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace for you, for those you love. A Sukkot Shalom over all creation, over all creation, over all creation. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Everyone to rise as you are able, as we call each other to prayer, as we enter into the Amidah. The Amidah, this time for personal prayer, for quiet prayer, for the prayer of our hearts. The words go through page 32, but don't let the words of the page get in the way of the prayer of your hearts. And so, as we enter into this, first we say Chatzi Kaddish, page 22. Yitkada v'yitkada shamei rabba v'yalma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayedecho Beit Yisrael Bagala uvizman kariv Vayimeru Amen Yeheshme Rabba Mevorach Le'alam Olam Me'almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemei Kudesha Barichu Leila Min Kol B'chata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alma V'yimeru Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Agita Hilatecha Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Agita Hilatecha Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Agita Hilatecha. Take a moment for our private prayer. You may be seated. Whenever you are done, the Amidah goes through page 32. So with our hearts open by prayer, with the world, we hope, opened by our hearts, we take a moment for a Misha Berach L'Cholim, for a prayer of healing. So if you're thinking of someone right now in need of healing, healing of body, healing of soul. I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to share their names. For Michael de Placido, thinking of Michael. Yeah, Lisa. Thinking of him. For Bonnie. Thinking of Bonnie. Yeah. Thinking of him. Thinking of your whole family. Thinking of my folks. Yeah. For Jane. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I am on the mend. Lead STL folk, anyone? Any names you want to share? Yeah. I'm sorry. Thinking of your whole family. Michael, do we have names from the stream?
Yes, we're praying for John Fuse and for Warren and Jessica.
Page 34.
Misheberach Avotenu Mikol Habrecha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. For Matt Braun and Sister Carla May Streeter, for Ruth Mascow and Jane Grady, for Anna Navarro and Alan Leibowitz, Sfira Batgadi, Dove Visara, and Jeff Raffelson, for Vicky Freeman and Steve Arnold, for Alan Portman and Chava Sara, for Hannah Roberts and Marilyn Weiss, for Amy Lampert and Bitzalel Cohen Ofori, Daniel Tzvi Ben Fega Toiba and Ilan Nissenboim, for Colony Chapel and Maggie Bradford, for Jordan Cronemer, for Drew Patchen, Robert Shepard, and Meredith Berkowitz. Misheberach Imotenu Mikor Abrecha Liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We say Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed is the source of goodness that calls us to the sacred work of bringing healing. And we say, Amen. Invite everyone to rise as you are able, as we begin to end. Page 38. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, la'tekiru la'liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, וגורלנו כחוהמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו. כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת יום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Take just a moment for a little bit about this week's Torah portion. For our lead STL students, we take the whole Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and we read it over the course of a year. So every Jewish community everywhere in the world is reading the same story this week. We won't actually read it today. Come tomorrow morning, you'll hear it. You're all welcome. Come on back. I know you're itching to come back tomorrow. But Jews across the world will read this same story. And somehow the Torah portion is just waiting for us, whatever is happening in the world. The one I always think of is the first Shabbos, Leslie was there, the first Shabbos of COVID, the first Shabbos of the pandemic. The Torah portion was all the story of the golden calf. And so always everywhere, whenever Jews have talked Torah that week, they've told the story of the golden calf. But almost like a throwaway line at the beginning of the Torah portion, it said, in the time of plague, wash your hands. And so this week, we march back into Egypt. And this week, we are told a new Pharaoh has come into power. This week, we are told of what it was like for our ancestors living in a place ruled by xenophobia, ruled by hatred, ruled by division, and ruled by targeting the most vulnerable. A new Pharaoh comes to power. And yet there is a lesson built into this. I really believe it. Because when we read our Torah, we read all the way through the degradation of Egypt and enslavement. We read through the liberation and crossing over into the wilderness of freedom. And then we travel for 40 years waiting to enter into that promised land. Just before we are to enter, just before we are to get there, we start our story all over again. It's like a message. It's like a reminder for us that promised land, it's never quite in reach, and yet we're not allowed to stop marching. We're not allowed to give up. We're not allowed to quit working for that world that could be, just because of the way that the world is. I think of Rabbi Tarfon living 2,000 years ago at a time much worse than our own, under a dictator, under a government, under a pharaoh, under an emperor much worse than ours. And Rabbi Tarfon looked at a world that seemed impossible to change, looked at a political situation and a historical precedent that seemed overwhelming, and he said, just because you can't finish the work doesn't mean you are ever allowed to desist. And so we take that next step, even as it is not in the direction we were hoping. We take that next step. We lift up that next broken piece. We find the light. And somehow, once again, in just a few weeks, we will be marching towards freedom. Shabbat Shalom. We take a moment, as we do at the end of every service, to acknowledge those in our community who are in mourning, those who are walking these steps of grief. So if you're saying Kaddish right now, if it's the immediacy of Shiva and Shloshim, or the year of loss, or if it's your Yartzeit, the annual observance, anniversary of losing someone, or if you're just missing them right now. Tzipora, I know we're thinking of your bubby. She's hugging you on Sunday, I have no doubt. If you're saying Kaddish, I invite you to rise or put up a hand or some other way that we can acknowledge you and hear the names. What was her name? For Lizzie Wolf. Aunt Lizzie? Aunt Lizzie. Of a blessed, blessed memory. For your mom, for Molly, on her birthday today. I hope your sister's eating that steak in her honor. For Walter, for your beloved, of a blessed, blessed memory. Sarah? For Mary, thank you. I'm so sorry. For Gladys. Jeremy? For your Uncle Jeff, of a blessed memory. For Colin Brown, for all those who've lost their lives in the California wildfires. For all those, as we sit on the verge of a ceasefire, who lost their lives in this awful, brutal war. Do you have a name also? For your Nana Linder, of a blessed, blessed memory. Yeah. For Peter Himmelman. Ugh, thank you. Michael, do you have names?
Yes, we're remembering Sandy Schwartz and Charles Aaronworth, and I'm remembering my grandmother, Susan Koppelman.
Thinking of them. Yeah. For Jacob Dumas, of a blessed memory. And for those yard sites we have this week, for those we've lost at this time in years past, for Ann Kornblatt and Geraldine Gertner, for Harry Snellenberg and Marvin Weitzman, for Eleanor Fiegel and Leon Tannenbaum, for Margaret Schlichter and Marion Renard, for Moses Padower and Myra Levine. And Myra, it's her first yard site. For Nancy Cloud and Paul Weissman, for Ted Levine and Walter Baker, for Ada Young and Bruce Rosen and Ken Dames, for Sylvia Lewis and B.B. Zwirling, for Fred Handler and Marion Kaplan, Mary Levinson and Stuart Watson, for Timothy Johnson and Dorothy Silverberg, for Harry Steins and Ida Orenstein, for Irving Achtenberg and Richard Novak, for Beatrice Adelson and Ben Neiman, and Elliot Gelman and Jack Stone, for Robert Temko and Sadie Furman and Sylvia Schachter, for Ann Alter and Harry Furman and Erwin Pollack, for Lucille Schneider and Susan Snyder, and for those we've lost this year, for Phyllis Goodfried and Benson Portnoy, for Lois Alper and Bunny Shopper, for Kenny Bach and Ed Bach and Vivian Eveloff, for Emmanuel Binder and Sam Fox and Molly Portman, for Sammy Schaas and Gerald Siegel and Susan Kopelman, for Jackie Fenster and Carl Smith, for Morris Tamsky and Marilyn Schreier and Ron Kramer, for Gary Sewell and Ann Lee Frank, for Ralph Wafer and Marilyn Fox, for Eileen Ehrlich, for all these names, for all these lives who touched us, who touched our world. I invite folks to rise as you are able. Page 41, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shamei rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, bagala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivorach le'olam u'lomei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei dekudasha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Ve'imru. Amen. Say Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of those that we miss be a blessing in our lives. And we say, Amen. You may be seated as we take just a moment for the sacred task of announcements. So the first most important announcement is that next Friday is our CRC retreat. So if you didn't go on it last year, it's really incredible. We go out to Camp Wyman on Friday evening. We make a campfire. We do Kabbalat Shabbat there. We eat together. We hang out together. We learn together. We spend all Shabbat day together there at Camp Wyman. We go on hikes. We hang around. We play cards. We study a little Torah. We make Havdalah, and we go home. But you will go home with new family. You really do. Those of us who went last year, I think we still feel like a family when we see each other. So it is not too late to RSVP. It is not too late to register. Yell's telling me you got to register real soon, and we'll make it work. Don't worry. But we'd love for you to join us for the retreat. Hybrid Torah study happens on Zoom and in person every Shabbat morning at 9 a.m. We have our annual winter clothing drive happening, so if you have extra very good condition winter clothes for those who are unhoused, for those who need it, please drop them off here until the end of February. The 22nd, that is this Wednesday, is Jewish Advocacy Day in Jeff City. You can hear the excitement in my voice. Despite my best efforts to stay away, I will be going down on Wednesday, so if anyone would like to come down and represent the best of our Jewish values to the worst of our state, there in the Capitol, if you've been there, we call it Pharaoh's Palace in our house. Pharaoh actually feels a little judged by that, but January 22nd, that's Wednesday, let us know, and we can figure out rides. Tomorrow, Shabbat, after services in the morning, we are having a committee meeting of those who'd like to help plan Tu B'Shvat, the birthday of the trees. So stay after services tomorrow. There'll be a little bit of lunch, there'll be a little bit of nash, and let's plan Tu B'Shvat together. Okay, there's all sorts of other announcements, but they're on a board over there. Any other crowdsourced announcements? Okay, we're quiet today. Let's rise as we are able. Let's put our arms around each other. Let's give each other a blessing. And a big thank you to Leslie, as always. To Michael back in the booth. Michael, you're alone in the booth this week, right? I think I'm going to take that as a yes. Oh, he's not even in the booth. Oh, I thought that was I only saw the thumbs up. I thought that was Michael's thumb. Give each other a blessing. Yivirechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May we be blessed. May we be kept safe. Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May we cling to each other and be a source of kindness and love, and don't let you-know-who bum you out.
Yes, Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Rabbi Zadie, you got a closing blessing for us?
After those words, may God grant us peace and the love and the caring and the wonderful world that we imagine. May it come one day, if not our lives, the lives of our children and grandchildren. Come and be that world, blessed with God's most precious blessing, the blessing of shalom.
Amen.
Amen.
And good Shabbos. Lead STL folk, I know you're getting picked up like in 25 minutes or something, but if you all want to, do we want to be in the library? Do you want to be crowd up here? What works best?